If you're watching this pre-recorded, please do as well. Now I've got a couple of videos from St. Patrick's Day here. As you may have, as I was talking about for the last month or so, I was planning to do a St. Patrick's Day of action, hand out 20,000 newspapers nationwide. We had parades in Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, from Derry to Kerry, and in London. But all the parades were cancelled, all the pubs were shut down, and through this coronavirus, I thought it was best to call off the day of action. But some people got active anyway, and now the lads in London were very, very good. So I have a little 2-minute video from London, and before I play that video, I want to play a video here that you like. Now this is from Christy Murray from Donegal. This is how Donegal men celebrate St. Patrick's Day when there's lockdown. So have a wee look at this. This year was today, right?
Up Donegal!
That's Christy Murray there. Castlefin man. One of our own. Up Donegal, he says. Fair play to him. That was good, wasn't it? Now, what else? We've got a couple of other short little clips here we're going to play for you. Now this is in London. The lads were in London. We're handing out some newspapers. So let's play that. Did you just enjoy that? Did you just? Right, let's get this on here now.
Good afternoon, Patriots.
Oh.
Good afternoon, Patriots. We're here in London. We are at the Cabinet Office. We're on our way to 10 Downing Street to, as you can see my lapel, to drop off the latest edition of the Irish Patriot to 10 Downing Street. Let's see how that goes.
Isn't that fantastic? Look at that there. The horse seems to be getting a good read, doesn't he? Oh my.
Good evening all, and welcome back to this little quick video vlog. So we've been in the pub behind us here at the Royal Oak that's based in Vauxhall, an Irish bar. So it was very welcoming, the publican himself, but due to the virus and the shitty weather and parades cancelled, there's very few papers in there. But we were able to manage to leave a few papers there. And forgive me. We were able to manage to leave a few papers inside. He seemed to respond really well to it, and we'll just see how it goes from there. But thank you.
Good afternoon, Patriots. We're here watching O'Connor's in London Central and Leicester Square. We're just out and about kind of distributing this beautiful paper. We've had a good response so far, and we've been able to leave a few in Irish bars here and there. Unfortunately, the parade is not running today. It's been cancelled because of the coronavirus, and but we're still out and about, and it hasn't dampened our spirits.
It's a good day to be out and about in London, and we're just out with the boys here in this lovely newspaper, distributing a lot of copies, as many as we can today, and just basically just enjoying ourselves today and having a good time, getting into the spirit for St. Patrick's Day, and it's all good.
Right, that was the Irish diaspora there in London, spreading the good news. Fair play, lads. Well done. Really proud of you. What else have I got here now? I've got one or two other wee things. What did you think about the horse? Based horse, as you would say. Horse was having a good read. Wonder did Boris Johnson get a copy of the paper? Right. Okay. Now this is from Bavaria, Germany. This is John.
Hi, this is John, your boy in Bavaria. I'm standing here on a very cold and rainy day in downtown Munich, right before the Rathausplatz. I have here a copy of the Irish Patriot newspaper, and I want to encourage everyone to support Niall McConnell and the work that he's doing in Ireland. I want you to support this wonderful paper, the Irish Patriot, and I want you to support Irish patriots wherever you find them, those folks who are sounding the warnings about the dangers facing Ireland and its people. Okay, until the next time, this is John, your boy in Bavaria, signing off, wishing you a great day and saying, Erin go bragh.
Good man, John. Thanks very much. God bless you. I've got one or two more wee things actually. Hold on now. We've got a fella distributing the newspapers in the occupied 6 counties. So let's bring him in here.
Hi guys, out delivering some of the Irish Patriots on the Heron newspaper. This is 17th of March, St. Paddy's Day, and the weather has just turned awful. Just taking a wee respite here in cover, make a wee video show you this. I have approximately about 50-60 left to do out of 200, so it's going pretty good, although the weather has just turned real nasty. So bear with me. There we go. And as you can see, the newsprint, get your hands pretty bugging, so that's what hard work looks like. Next video, guys.
Fair play to young man and the occupied 6 counties, spreading the nationalist idea. Good man, fair play to you. Do I have anything else here now? Let me check. One or two photos, I suppose. Let me see here, get them up. Actually, hold on a second here. Just getting a call here. Right, okay. Let's bring these pictures up here. Now, this was at 16 Lombard Street. That's where the Irish Republican Brotherhood were founded. This was today. You see the plaque here. The Sovereign Seal on 16 Lombard Street. The gentleman there holding the tricolour. And then this was James Stevens' grave. This was today as well. Beautiful picture. They were the founders of the Irish Republican Brotherhood. Alright. I think that's it. That's all the footage I have. Now, folks, if you want to order the Irish Patriot newspaper, the 2nd issue, you can do so below. There's a link below to order it. This helps pay for the printing of the newspaper, paying of the editors, paying the writers, paying the graphic designer. It's quite expensive to get a newspaper printed, and that's why so many people fail at doing it. This is only the 2nd issue. The majority of papers fail at the 2nd and 3rd issue, so I want to keep this going. I don't want this to fail. So if you can, it's very cheap. It's not expensive at all. You can buy it from £5 to 500. So get your orders in for the second issue of the newspaper. This is the main way I sell this through my YouTube channel. So forgive me for pushing the newspaper all the time, but I don't want it to fail. You know, some people mightn't like it that I push it every stream, but I have to get it sold. And this is the pull-out poster in the middle here. Beautiful poster of the 1916 Easter Rising. So get your orders in for the second issue of the newspaper. Scroll down below this video. There's a link in the description for that. And there's an online store too, and membership and all that too. Check out the links below and subscribe to my BitChute, my D Live. Alright folks, right. How are we all doing the live chat there? If you haven't hit the like button already, please do. Subscribe, hit the bell notifications. Oh, thanks very much, Mustard Seed. How are we all doing the live chat? Very good. Thanks to Irish Rose and Aidan Fletcher and Emer for posting links, and the other mods as well. Thanks very much. Right, okay, now I have to call Bully McGuire here, the president of the Irish Republican Brotherhood. So let me get him on here now.
Hello?
Hello, Billy. How's it going?
Hello, Niall. How are you? Good.
I'm good. Sorry for calling you a little bit late. I got held up there showing some footage.
Oh, that's all right. No problems, no problem.
So, happy St. Patrick's Day, Billy.
And may I return the compliment to you and wish you... Are we on the air yet?
Yes, we're live now.
Oh, well, and I'd like to wish all your listeners a happy St. Patrick's Day from the Irish and Fenian Republican Brotherhood. You know, we were founded on St. Patrick's Day, 1858, down the 16 Lumber Street by James Stephens and by John O'Mahony in Dohenys in New York. You know, and people should know why we celebrate St. Patrick's Day. And, you know, great organisation. They founded and funded the state. It was all about, you know, the welfare of the Irish people and a sovereign government. The proclamation, the sovereign constitution, Declaration of Independence and Address to the Free Nation, and our sovereign seals and harps, they're all Irish and Fenian Republican Brotherhood symbols. And people should know what they are, especially when you see this awful virus that's going around. You know, this has happened before you read it in the Bible and that. But we have a sovereign Dáil government. It doesn't owe any money, you know, has no debt, was founded in the 1918 32 county election of the 14th of December 1918, and on the 28th of December, it took that length of time for the troops coming back from war, and we won that by 73 votes out of 105. I can give you all the details if you want. And on the 21st of January, then 1919, in the Mansion House in Dublin. Well, first of all, in Vaughan's Hotel. That was the headquarters of the IRB, you know, and in the cabinet room, which is the dining room, you know, they handed over the seals and all, did all the formal handing over of that to the sovereign Dáil government of the Sovereign Republic of Eire by the will and wish of all the people of the 32 counties. That's the mandate we have. And it's IRB Sinn Féin that got that mandate. Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Labour, and Provisional Sinn Féin and those, they were all, you know, provisional government imposed by King George V on the 6th of December 1921 as a British apartheid system for the 26 and 6 counties of Ireland as an orange-free monarchist provisional government to pay for Britain's war debts and war pensions. And Michael Collins, he said, you know, if you go back to the 6th of December 1921, when the split happened, and that's when King George V imposed that Free State government to pay for Britain's war debts and war pensions. We had a sovereign Dáil government. And you hear awful, trouble that it causes. About America, and you hear Russia and interfering with the election. And there's not a word about Britain interfering with our sovereign Dáil government, all 32 counties, one on, fairly and squarely, and that's the mandate. And you hear nothing about that, but that's what we're facing. And Collins, in fairness to Collins, and I have no animosity against De Valera or Collins or anybody else, but Collins said that it will only be for 2 years. It's a hell of a long 2 years going on, that debt is imposed down on our people by a provisional Free State government that sits in Leinster House. And that's not right. And I think the chickens have come home to roost now. And how anybody will tolerate that, I don't know. And if you go back to Vaughan's Hotel, and we always rented a room from Mrs. Vaughan for the Irish and Fenian Republican Brotherhood, and for Cumann and Feeney and all those groups, and put them in there. But when Britain declared that election on the 14th of December, and we had to wait until then. If you read our proclamation that Padraig Pearse, he promulgated from the GPO in 1916, we only had a provisional government. We had to have a sovereign government. And we had to wait for Britain to declare that election on the 14th of December. And as I said, on the 28th of December, we won that election by 73 seats out of 105. And that's the mandate we have today. And of course, Britain, in its might, it just couldn't be bothered. They imposed that Free State. But I mean, to go on for this length and for our own, we're the only country in the world now that doesn't have a government, doesn't have any law. You don't own your house or your land. Those politicians. Where did Sean O'Reilly, when in Leinster House, he refused to take the oath of allegiance to sovereign Dáil government, the sovereign Dáil courts, and the War of Independence. Well, that has been done, but he has to take it. And the whole point of taking the oath of allegiance that all those volunteers had to give that were elected to the first sovereign Dáil government is that once you give that oath of allegiance, you're accountable to the sovereign Dáil government and to the sovereign Dáil courts and to the sovereign people. And that's what you must. But these crowds that are in since then, since the 6th of December 1920, don't give any oath. You only give a declaration. That's no use. That's not a legal term. And those judges, none of them give an oath of allegiance to the sovereign Dáil government, the sovereign Dáil courts. And they're sitting aside in those courts. And when you go into with a problem to those courts, or you're brought in before them, you have to give an oath. And those judges are sitting up there in the bench, and they only give a declaration. They're not accountable to anybody, nor can you hold them accountable to anybody. But I'm saying that's not right, and that's not what the first sovereign Dáil government is about. And that's not what the IRB are about. The IRB are about that. That's the mandate we were given to found and fund the state, and that's what we did. And my family contributed quite, people are naive, think that you can have these great events with nothing that does. It costs a lot of money to have those things, and you have to be prepared to pay for them. And we were lucky to have the money to pay for it, and that's where it comes from.
Billy, I just want to I want you to explain something, and I don't want me to be rude, but can you speak closely to the mic, because it's kind of hard to hear you a little bit. But can you explain to the Irish people, because a lot of them don't understand, the creation of the Free State in 1921, and how 1918 there was a general election. The IRB, Irish Republican Brotherhood, Sinn Féin, won in a landslide, and just created a 32 county All Ireland Dáil in 21st of January 1919, and then King George V declared it an illegal assembly and created a Royal Orange or Royal Free State, 26 counties, and that's so because some people
don't understand why the Free State was set up to pay for English war debts and more pensions. I can read it for you if you like. And that's what's crucial for people to understand. We had a sovereign government set up by the people, the sovereign people, on the 21st of January 1919. And on the 6th, I'll read it here, Articles of Agreement as assigned on December the 6th, 1921. Ireland shall have the same constitutional status as the community of nations known as the British Empire, as a Dominion of Canada, the Commonwealth of Australia, the Dominion of New Zealand, and the Union of South Africa, with a Parliament having powers to make laws for the peace, order and good government of Ireland, and an executive responsible to that Parliament, and shall be styled and known as the Irish Free State. I think that's very clear. And that's the 6th of December 1921, when Michael Collins went down. Now, Michael Collins was president of the IRB, and he went down with the Free State government, and they bought the lease of Leinster House from the Royal Dublin Society to set up the Free State. It wasn't for this Dáil, and you hear today, oh, Dáil Éireann, you hear Dáil Éireann never sat in Leinster House. It's the Royal Oireachtas that sits in Leinster House. And that's what it was about. And if you look at the 21st of January 1919, Michael Collins was Minister for Finance. On the 6th of December 1921, he was only Provisional Minister under the Free State. And that's the difference. You don't have sovereignty. It's royalty they have. And Britain doesn't have a sovereign government. We've explained that before. Christians believe that only the Pope in Rome, Christ Vicar on earth, can anoint a sovereign. And Henry VIII fell out with the Pope in Rome. And he declared himself Dio Mondorotto. He was equal to God, and he didn't need the Pope in Rome. They haven't had a sovereign government since then. They have a royal government, royal courts of justice, and a crown force. Sovereignty comes from God, but royalty is man-made, the same as a constitution, and that's the difference between the two. You have to have a sovereign government going into all these countries. And Britain didn't have sovereignty. And that's why they have our sovereign seal up in their coat of arms, pretending that they have a sovereign government. They haven't.
So,
and that's the difference.
Sorry, Billy, just to cut in there. Now, see, the 26 county Free State that we're seeing now, what's the difference?
Right.
What's the difference between the Free State now and the 1921-22 Free State that was created by King George V?
That's when it was set up. The Irish Free State shall assume, I'm reading Article 5, right, on this document. The Irish Free State shall assume liability for the service of the public debt of the United Kingdom as existing at the date hereof, and towards the payment of war pensions as existing at that date, in such proportions as may be fair and equitable, having regard to any just claims on the part of Ireland by way of set-off or counterclaims, the amount of such sums being determined in default of agreement by arbitration of one or more independent persons being citizens of the British Empire. And that's it in a nutshell for you. And why should you and your family and everybody else be paying off Britain's war debt at this stage? We have the wealthiest country in Europe, the largest country in Europe, and the most valuable country in Europe, and the poorest people, because you're paying off that war debt. And those politicians, that's what they're doing. That's what Leinster House was set up for. That's what the Royal Dáil was set up for. And that's what they're still doing. And they won't. If they took that oath of allegiance, we would have our sovereign Dáil Éireann government today. And I asked Mary Lou, because it was IRB Sinn Féin that won that 32 county election of 1918. And in the round room, I asked her, and all those I said that were elected to that sovereign Dáil had to take that oath of allegiance to the Sovereign Republic of Ireland, the sovereign Dáil Éireann government, sovereign Dáil Éireann courts, and the War of Independence in those days. And then they were accountable to Dáil Éireann, and they were accountable to the Dáil Éireann courts and to the sovereign Irish people. Those today are not accountable to anybody. That's why they're getting away with it. That's why you have all these debts and all these vulture funds coming in, buying off land, buying off property.
Where's that document coming from, Billy? You're reading there. Is that King George V's document or what?
That's the. I'll tell you what it is. Articles of Agreement as signed on December the 6th, 1921. That's the document, but Collins never signed the treaty. That's supposed to be the treaty. That's not a great treaty for anybody.
Is it the Anglo-Irish treaty? Is it?
Yeah. That's what you're talking about.
But you're saying Collins never signed it?
Document. Sorry?
You're saying Collins never signed it?
Collins never signed the treaty, nor the treaty was never signed here, and that's a fact. And that was put in to pay for Britain's war debt. So I've just read it out to you there. Yeah. Britain's war and war pension. That's what you're still paying for. And when Collins, it's all in the bones and 10 papers. That's all I know. And Collins said it was for 2 years. Sure, he was executed over doing it, signing that document and giving away all that. But you have to go back, as I said, go back to the proclamation, which is a very important document. And you see that in 1916, when Pierce read that at the GPO, and you'll see that having organized and trained her manhood through her secret revolutionary organization, the Irish Republican Brotherhood, and through her open military organization, the Irish Volunteers and the Irish Citizens Army. And then you go right down to everything is sovereignty and indefeasible. And that's what you were setting up. That's what the IRB was setting up. A sovereign Dáil government. You have to have sovereignty. If you haven't, you're a slave. You can't own your house or your land. And that's what's wrong today. We don't have a sovereign government. We have, but those politicians don't recognize it. And neither do the judges. And that's what's so important. And when you go into court, you should ask the court clerk, what oath of allegiance does he take? I put that up, and I asked all those for this third door, what oath of allegiance do you take? Is it to the sovereign Dáil government by the will and wish of all the people in the 1918 32 county election that has no debt and owes no money? Or is it to the free state that was imposed on the 6th of December 1921 by King George V and the British government and the Crown Force to pay for Britain's war debt? It's either one or the other. Dáil Éireann has never sat in Leinster House, although every day you hear the propaganda, lies, deception and fraud. And I criticise RTE for that. They're not accountable to anybody. They have no license. Today I asked, and yesterday I asked RTE, it's the 162nd anniversary of the Irish and Premium Republican Brotherhood being founded today, down at 16 Lumber Street. And I asked RTE to wish the Irish Republican IRB happy birthday, and come. They wouldn't. They refused to do it. There's something very peculiar wrong with this state when the RTE, who's the national broadcaster, refuses on St. Patrick's Day, and why we celebrate St. Patrick's Day, they won't give the information to the people. And I asked Rayleigh and the Gaeltacht to do the same. They refused to do it as well. It's a very peculiar situation. And all we're doing in Europe, that's the Irish and Fenian Republican Brotherhood, that's their tricolor flag. Thomas Francis Marr brought that flag in here. And I'm going to read to you something, if you give me a minute.
Yeah. Just make sure you speak closely to the microphone there, Billy, so we can hear you, right?
I only have a mobile phone, and it's not great. And as you know, they keep knocking me off here. They don't want me speaking. But anyway, I'm reading from The Fenian Chief, a biography of James Stephens, and it's by Desmond Ryan, right?
Yeah.
And you can get that in any library. And what's important about Desmond Ryan, they were a journalist family, and he was in St. Enda's, and he was Pierce's secretary, and he was in the GPO. No better man to write a book about. And anyway, here we are I'm going to read just page 90, right?
Yeah.
Of the Fenian Chief. And anybody can get this. There was 23 copies of this book, and we got them put back again into the library system. So anybody can get on. On the 17th of March, 1858, Danny F. was a tailor from Kilkenny, arrived in Dublin with the acceptance of Stephen's terms by the New York Committee and the £80. This subscription was the very minimum stipulation. Danny F. reported that there was no actual organised, there was no actual organised body of sympathisers in New York, but merely a loose knot of associates, disturbed Stevens. Yet he went ahead at once, and that very evening the Irish Republican Brotherhood was established in Peter Langdon's timber yard at 16 Lombard Street. I think that's very clear, when we were set. And yes, isn't it extraordinary? The parade goes with 50 yards of Lombard Street, and they have never, ever stopped and went in to recognise 16 Lombard Street, where the IRB were founded. And only for Christina and others who cleaned that old plaque up on the wall, Dublin City Council refused to do it, and nobody else does it. We keep that. And I'm on page 316 now, the Fenian Chief again. And I'm down to when he died, James Stevens. He died early on Friday morning on the 5th of March, 1901, after a sudden and unexpected attack of weakness, for starvation really, at the house of his brother-in-law, John Payne, 82 Georges Avenue, Blackrock, County Dublin. Around his coffin was wrapped the Fenian tricolour of green, white and orange, within 15 years became the banner of that decisive national revolt for which the dead man had plotted and dreamt of so long in vain. There you are, 1901, the tricolour flag, wrapped around his coffin. And that's the Irish and Fenian Republican Brotherhood's tricolour flag. And we don't even know anything about it. That in Europe, you have to have a sovereign government. That's why General de Gaulle wouldn't allow Britain into Europe at the time. They had a royal government, but they didn't have a sovereign government. It was only after General de Gaulle died. And what did they get in? Under our sovereignty and our sovereign seal. And now on the 16th of March 2017, Queen Elizabeth, when she signed that Article 50 of Brexit, and she took Ireland out of the European Union, under the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, England, Scotland and Ireland, she abdicated any claim she had on the Irish Free State or on the Sovereign Republic of Ireland. And our own crowd have done nothing since. I mean, they don't even know. All they're doing is going around pretending on RT and that, Dáil Éireann, and everybody were, Dáil Éireann, say Dáil Éireann. Dáil Éireann never sat in Leinster House. And all they're doing is propaganda lies and deception to Europe. And we have, all those people in Europe who are our friends and supporting us. How can you be lying to those people? We don't have a government. We don't have a law. You don't own your house or your land, as I've said. And we're in a very serious situation because those politicians are all of their interests is their salaries, their pensions, and their expenses. That is feathering their own nest and enriching themselves. That's what the game is about and has been for a long time. And giving away our assets and pretending, oh yes, they don't have sovereignty. And there's one license in this country, or can the Free State issue a license to anybody? It's treason under the Crown. And now they think they can do it because there's a different situation after the 16th. But look, we have a sovereign government, all 32 counties, all our territory to America, all our territory down the Irish Sea. If you read my letter to Boris Johnson, you'll get all that information. And we're the only country, well, Ireland, the Scots-Irish, and the Viking people, they brought sovereignty to America and Canada. and that is respected, and that's why. And sovereignty, as I said, sovereignty comes from God, and those two five-string harps that were on the Ark of the Covenant were brought here by your ancestors, and that, look, no man or woman understands God, but the harp is the covenant between God and man. But the harp has only one image, and then you have Celtic Christianity, where you have the two five-string harps. You put your two hands up in the air and face the sun and the moon. And all mathematics, all science, all astronomy, all latitude, longitude, the wheel, how you build your ship, all that information is on those two five-string harps. And that's what we have. If you look down over the forecourts in Dublin, they're there, then they're desecrated. They were desecrated on the 6th of December 1921. And, but we should know our history, and we should know your intellect and your reason and your five senses. That's what you have. And that's true knowledge and information, how to build and look after planet Earth. And that is what it is, for his planet Earth and our civilization. We have to do our own civilization. And we have the ability to do it, and we have the intellect to do it, and our five senses to do it. And that's where we should be. The world is being destroyed, as you know.
I have a question for you, Billy. Now, say if someone's got a court case for X, Y, or Z, and they get a summons in the mail, what is your advice to them people?
My advice is you write to the court clerk and you ask him what oath of allegiance is he taking, and that on that day you'll want to see his license. He has to have a license to have a court. And you will say the same thing to the judge. What oath of allegiance? Is it to the Free State under the Crown of England of the 6th of December 1921? Or is it to the Sovereign All-Ireland Government of the 21st of January 1919, our Independence Day, by the will and wish of all the people of the 1918-32 current election? Which is it? It has to be one or the other. And that's where you start from there. But you must write it in. If you go into that court, the judge assumes that he has jurisdiction over you, and you must not give him jurisdiction over you, because he can put you in jail or anything else. But if you go in and say you want your case heard under the sovereign constitution, and I can read some of the sovereign constitution for you if you want to.
Yeah.
It's so important. He has to get off the bench because he's not appointed. Hold on, I get the sovereign constitution. He to any better guidance of the Holy Spirit that it may in conscience with thy divine will contribute to the greater glory. Amen. This constitution shall be the constitution of the Republic of Ireland, proclaimed in arms on Easter Monday, April the 24th, 1916, and established by the will of the people of Ireland on January the 21st, 1919. That's what we've been discussing now. Article 1, the sovereignty of the nation is inalienable. That means that nobody can change that. Not Britain, nor any other country can come in here, and that's what they did. It is therefore not within the competence of any generation of people to surrender that sovereignty, which each generation holds in trust for the nation. The question of surrender of national independence may not be submitted to an electorate. Subject to that fundamental principle, it is hereby declared that all authority in Ireland, legislative, executive, and judiciary, and all powers of government are derived solely under God from the people of Ireland. These powers are inherent in the people alone by virtue of their sovereignty. They must be exercised in accordance with the principles of liberty, equality, and justice for all. Any legislation not in accordance with these principles is hereby declared to be null and void. I think that makes it very clear. And that's what you're going. And does anyone ever know anything? Have we ever told anything about that sovereign constitution by the will and will that was voted on that I've just read out that election due?
No one knows.
And here's the important. What?
No, absolutely nobody knows.
Not at all. Which you're going to BillyMcGuire.com. It's all up. It's up there. You can download it yourself. Now, the land Article 10 And this is what's crucial. The land of Ireland belongs to the citizens of Ireland and to them alone. That's what's crucial. And all these people coming in, budget funds and everything else, and scamming and shamming off all your property and territory. That is an absolute scam. And how they allow that, I just don't know. And it's time people stood up. You have a great opportunity now. I thought that all that was going to get out there to people. And on this day, I thought of this year, 2020, we would have our sovereign Dáil government, our sovereign Dáil courts, and we would have all our territory back, and we would have all that money were owed by Britain that we paid out to an illegal free state to pay for Britain's war debt. All right, Colin said it was 2 years, but it's a hell of a long 2 years going out from the 6th of January 1921 to today. That's more than 2 years. And hold on till I get those dates exactly right. December the 6th, 1921. And you're paying for that war debt all that time. And you're still paying for it. And your children are paying for it. And what are your children going to think of you? And why is that free state government imposing that debt down on our people when we don't owe it? Misfortunate people being blackguarded, and that's all it is. And what are they doing in Europe? I wrote to Europe about all this in 2016, and I said, would you ever go and look after Britain's sovereignty and where they're getting it from? And I said, they don't have it. And there was ructions here at my house and everything else. But anyway, they did nothing because they're all scamming in Europe the same way. They use our tricolour flag, which we're not going to give them. You look in Leinster House and you see a gold braiding, British Adam Creek gold braiding around our tricolour flag. That's an absolute scandal inside in Leinster House. And you see them putting their back to our sovereign seal. They cannot use Éire on our sovereign seal, the Sovereign Republic of Éire. And it's propaganda, lies and deception. And it's time that people, you have this huge crisis in Ireland to see all these people being dismissed out of their jobs. And terrible panicking going on. Nobody knows what's going to happen. You have a sovereign government and we believe in God. And the covenant between God and man with those two five-string harps you know talked about. And the sovereignty, the harp, how man learned to write. You know, the wheel, the curves, how indent the wheel. Give them that information, how you build your ship. All that information is on that. And you know that you, when you were young, and your parents, they wore that harp on St. Patrick's Day. I have a photograph of Sam McGuire. It was the IRB that founded the GAA. And Sam McGuire, playing for London Hibernians, they all wore that in their jerseys. Everybody wore the shamrock and that. The shamrock is the Trinity. It's the sovereign seal. And when you put it up, it's the sun ship that grows all our food, and the moon ship that controls all the circular life, and the tricolour on the home flag. That's it. And that's where it comes from. If you go to Lochgar in County Limerick, you will see all that for 10,000 years when your ancestors brought that in here. And it's just so important that we don't lose that information. Every child, I'm asking all the parents as well, take an Irish coin out of your pocket and you see 14 strings that Ernest put on that coin. And I said the harp is only one image. You put the harp up to the mirror and you'll only see the harp. And the harp is 29 strings. It had 32. Of course, took off that. But put up that, and the first string is your measuring tape, your plumb line, your straight edge. How the pyramids were built. You know, turn that every way you turn it. You know, the abacus. You know, how many. But anyway, take that coin out of your pocket and put it up to that's Anno Domini. That's the year, that's the Celtic Christianity. It has two images from wrong to right. 14 strings is what Ernest died, the IRB put on that coin. And that's where it comes from. And shouldn't you know, people should know, we seem to, you know, of our history in that. We know nothing about it. And if you don't know it, somebody is cheating you, and that's what's going on. And then you're wondering that, oh, we've not, and we're under terrible. I want all that money that is going out of the country to pay for Britain's war debts and everything else to be invested in our people, in our schools, in our hospitals, in our houses, in our transport. And we have the greatest country in the world. And we believe in God. We're not a religious organization, but we're a secular organization. But we believe in God. And we believe, because no man or woman understands God, but you can understand those two fires in time. The sovereignty of God and the sovereignty of mankind. That's what we believe in. And that's what the IRB have always believed in. And that's where we are today. And that's our end. Today is one of our great days. And see it today, everything closed down. You know, that's frightening for people. And no job is frightening for people. And not being told the truth, which is the worst of all. But people were told the truth. I'm looking here at that sovereign dollar by the William Wilson Road. You have it in your paper. And last Friday, I was in Newcastle West Limerick 102, it's a community radio, with Pat Donovan, and he reviewed the papers at 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock. And at 12 o'clock, he invited me in to talk about what we're talking about now, about St. Patrick's Day. And we had your paper, and he reviewed your paper, and he got a great response from it, and people are delighted with the information that you're giving out to people. All we're doing is giving the information to people. But then you have to take that information and do something with it now.
Yeah.
So people don't do anything. They get the information and it's just, nothing. It doesn't mean anything to them. But it'll mean to you tomorrow morning when you go to work and there's no work, and you've no money, and you can't go any place. And we're all stuck, the whole world, but we're not. We have our sovereign government, and we have all that information, all that technology, and we're doing nothing about it. And we've let it go and couldn't be bothered. And now we have a problem. But we have one great factor that our ancestors left us. They gave us all that information and knowledge, and gave us a sovereign dollar in the government called 32 pounds. And you know Chris Bowlby well in his book. You know that he's given out the truth to people. And you know Francis M. Carl, he wrote that book, Money for Ireland, another great person. And you know, we thank them so much. And I thank
Francis M. Carroll's writing another book. I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago there. I called him.
Oh, that's great. That's terrific. I spoke to him today, just thanked him for all he did for Ireland, you know. And as you know, he was here in Trinity. But look, we have the information and we have the knowledge, but it's not getting out there. It's delivered. I mean, for RT, not even to mention the IRB today, that's very hurtful to me. But look, and you'll find that Europe is calling on, if the Free State government doesn't recognise and give that oath of allegiance, you cannot sit in Europe. And that's going to be worse. And we have a sovereign government. I mean, why? John O'Farrell will have to justify why he will not give an oath of allegiance to Dáil Éireann. He's always shouting about Dáil Éireann now. Dáil Éireann never said it. He must tell us where it's coming from. And those judges inside in the court must say that did they give an oath of allegiance to the Free State under the Crown of England? Is that where you're getting your authority from? Or did you give it to the sovereign Dáil Éireann government that you're accountable to Dáil Éireann? And Dáil Éireann, as we know from what I've just read out, is a 32-county mandate, and that's what it is. And to desecrate that and to do something about it, it's time it was put right. And when you have all this corruption in the world, and you have it all over the place, you have the result of it today. And when you see all these people, that's the result of corruption.
Absolutely.
And that's what it is.
But Billy, I don't want to keep you any longer. You've been on now for about 45 minutes, so I want to...
Oh, I shouldn't have been. You should have cut me off hours ago.
No.
But anyway, it's great to talk to you, Neil. It is great.
It's great talking to you.
And look, I'm delighted to talk. I've gone too old now, as you know. But look, all we do is give the information out to people. And it's up to them. If you want to pay that war debt and Britain's war pensions and all that, I think you can. But you want to know what you're doing. But I was prepared to see that money going on your children and your grandchildren, and on your housing, and on the hospitals and all that, where we have a decency and people would live and respect. They should respect our tricolours. I read it out to you there. And they should respect the Irish and Fenian Republican Brotherhood. And it was set up, as you know, the Fenians around. And when you go into Dublin, when you go, we'll say, from on the Lewis in from Euston Station into O'Connell Street, that's William Smith O'Brien's statue on the right. Many people go to that. And he was one of our founders. Your young Irelanders and all, that's come down. Fenians were around. But it was when they set up the Irish and Fenian Republican Brotherhood. And when we put the money up for that, that's when you got we had to wait this length of time to get your sovereign Dáil government and get your sovereignty. And I think it was worthwhile. And now it's needed more than any time.
Your website's BillyMcGuire.com, isn't it, Billy? People are asking how to access your information. I need to link that website. So it's BillyMcGuire.com.
BillyMcGuire.com. You have to, you're just asking me. BillyMcGuire.com, it's up in that. And you can download that. Download the Irish, download our sovereign constitution. We put all that information up for the people because the people are sovereign, and that's where and give them the information, because RT won't give you the information, the government won't give you they're free state, and they're not anything now, because once I told you on the 16th of March 2017 when Queen Elizabeth signed Article 50 of Brexit, she abdicated any claim she had on the free state or on the sovereign. And they will not. They're going around Europe and they have no government, no law, nothing. And how do they expect? But they want to use our tricolour flag and they want to pretend that Leinster House is Dáil and lying and propaganda lies, deception and fraud. We will not tolerate that. Go out and tell the truth to the people and tell them what's going on and give them the facts. That's all we're asking to do. And go down to the courts and you'll see the desecration of those two 5-string harps which were on the Ark of the Covenant, which were carried here by your ancestors. They're not even turned the right way. And the first thing I would do is have those, and I would take the seals off the back of the chairs in Leinster House. And the first thing I would do is take that gold British Admiralty gold braiding round our tricolour flag. It's the fourth colour. And Michael D. Higgins should be ashamed of himself pretending. Why can't you stand up and tell the truth to the people? That's all you need. And the greatest crisis to hit us. And everybody telling lies and propaganda lies and deception and won't tell the people. We have a sovereign government. We're lucky. We're one of the few countries in the world that's lucky. And we've no debt. We don't owe any money. And they're trying to impose debt down on you and your children. I think this is wrong. And I don't agree with it, and I don't care what anybody says, I don't agree with it, and I'm not going to change my mind on it either, and I'm not going to collude with anybody. I'll give you the facts, and that's it. And I see Vaughan's Hotel, a derelict building. When the Queen came over, it took 10 years. The Earl of Harrington took his seat in the House of Lords with Archbishop Eames and the Presbyterian people, and she wanted to see Vaughan's Hotel where the state was founded. They built that entrance out on the side of the Garden of Remembrance. And underneath all that Garden of Remembrance, you go down to that, where they were all the tunnels. You could cycle the bike. Michael Collins, that's where the bikes were kept. The tunnel, the printing press was all. And I gave all the Vaughan's Hotel papers to the University of Limerick. And they don't even, Tom O'Donnell hid them and won't tell anybody. 3 furniture van loads of all the history and hid them. They didn't want any of this information to come out. They thought there'd never be a Brexit. They thought there'd never be a crisis like this. But you have. The truth always comes out in the end, and you have to stand up and this is the truth, and you tell the truth, and you for the benefit of the people, and the people are on it. And that's the way it should be. Look at the GA. That's what the IRB, they founded and funded the GA. That's their organisation. A wonderful organisation. And we're not even mentioned in that. Were we mentioned today? Did you see the IRB mentioned any place today? No. Airbrush. Well, if that's the way it is going to be, that's the way. And all that's going to happen is that Europe is going to get tired of the lies and deception, and they're telling me that we have to lease the sovereign Republic of Ireland to a sovereign state that will govern it as it was on the 21st of January 1919 by that if our old Free State government don't recognise it. And until we really cop ourselves on and tell the truth and tell it where it comes from and say, where's your... I read out that document there for you, the Sovereign Constitution. It tells you very clear. And the proclamation, it's all about sovereign and indefeasible. Sovereignty is, that's what we achieved, and that's what was sovereignty. Use it or lose it, and that'll be the outcome of that.
Good man.
Listen, very good to talk to you and all your listeners, and I wish you very well up there in Donegal, and I hope all your papers, that everybody, because they're lovely papers, and Pat Donovan got a great response on Friday when he went through your paper, and he read out that article of that. It was actually Nina Hare, and it was Christina that wrote that article, because I was getting my cataracts done, and she put it together. But we have that, and you have the sovereign Ireland government in your paper, and you see that, I mean, that the 21st of January 1919, it's on it, and all that those, and they all took the oath of allegiance. And everybody must ask your politician and your judge and your and the judiciary, what oath of allegiance are you giving? Is it to the sovereign Republic of Ireland or the sovereign Ireland government, or is it the Free State? One or the other.
Right.
And then the truth will come out, which you're giving. But we have no hand extra part of the Free State, and we're not going to keep paying off all the war debt. We're not going to do it. We don't owe us, and why should you pay it? And Britain should pay back. I asked them to pay back to all that money that the IRB had collected, Friends of Irish Freedom. And James McGuire was the chairman of that. And it was all robbed to set it by Britain to set up the Free State. They hadn't any money after the war. De Valera robbed it to set up the Irish Press and Fianna Fáil. And Cumann Gael robbed it to set up Fianna Gael. I mean, that's a scandalous behaviour. That money is for the people. It's the people here are sovereign, and that's what's important. And I'll say good night to you, and I'll wish you and all your listeners a very happy St. Patrick's Day. And thank you.
God bless you, Billy. Alright, that was the president of the Irish Republican Brotherhood, Billy McGuire. Thanks to Billy for coming on, giving us his time, spreading the message.